Hello, guys, and today we are going to be talking about the Southampton Liverpool game, which ended 2-3. And we're going to be focusing on Southampton as I am a Southampton fan. So, we're going to start off by giving the players' ratings. We're going to start off with Alex McCarthy, who I think had a half decent game. He wasn't the worst player on the pitch. I think if he had what Ramsdale had with his feet, I think he'd be a much better player. But he's a good shot stopper, but he's not really what we need. He doesn't deserve the number one, and I think he is a championship level keeper. Despite most of our players being championship level, I don't believe he's good enough, and it will be a worrying month without Ramsdale. And I do think Joe Lumley deserves a shout in goal. He's not a bad goalkeeper. So, yeah, but Bazunu is supposedly coming back from injury soon, so let's hope that's sooner than later, and maybe Bazunu can prove himself in the Premier League again. He didn't get to last time. Maybe he can this time. Now we're going to be moving on to Carl Walker-Peters. I think that he's a decent, he's been decent. He's been an average player for us. I don't think he's shown the qualities he has in the past, but he really is a good player. He's one of our best players, and it will be a shame when we lose him. I mean, if we do sell him, I hope we do sell him in the in in the January transfer window, as we want money for him, but he is a quality player for us, and hopefully maybe we can get a contract for him next season, but I'm sure he probably doesn't want to be playing in the championship next year. But he was great this game. I mean, I don't think he played a massive role, but the passes, especially to Dibbling on his side, set up the goals, and he was a key player for us today, although not the biggest player of this game, which we will get on to later. Now moving on to Ryan Fraser, who I thought, considering he is a winger and he was put to play left back, I think that he didn't have the worst game ever, if we're being honest, because he was put in a tough position anyway. So to be able to play how he did lose the ball quite a few times, but you can't blame him. If Russell Martin believes in him, then we've got to believe in him as well. And I don't think he was the worst player on this pitch, but again, he definitely wasn't the best. And I the only thing I don't understand about Russell Martin is that why we have James Bree, Sugawara, and Ryan Manning on the bench when they're all fullbacks. I know we're very attacking on the wing, and I can't deny that neither three of them are particularly fast. But Ryan Manning had a very good game against Wolves, so I don't see why he didn't start. And someone like James Bree, who's had a really good games in the cup, why we aren't starting him is out of my mind. And then Jack Stevens, I mean, the whole defence had a half decent game. I think if without them, it would have been 6 or 7-0. Some great blocks in the back from Jack Stevens and obviously Harwood Bellis, who we'll get onto in a minute. He plays the captain role very well, but the past few games he's received yellow cards and red cards. Is it time for him to get on the bench? Obviously, with Bednarek off with injury, it is gonna be Jack Stevens starting for a while again. I don't see why we don't give Bella Kotchap a try really, but yeah, Stevens great game. Obviously, I don't recall whether he was a big part in us losing the ball. I think that was Fernandez, who we'll get onto in a minute. But yeah, half decent game. I don't think he made too many mistakes, apart from the big defensive mistakes which led to some of the goals. And McCarthy being an idiot with the goals. I didn't even mention this. McCarthy was at fault for two of those goals. The awful pass to Fernandez, as well as that awful positioning. He's just not. Like I said, not a Premier League keeper. Awful positioning. What was he doing? But yeah, I could go back to McCarthy 10 times during this video. It was not a fun game to watch. Well, it was a fun game to watch when we were 2-1 up, but not the best afterwards. Flynn Downs, I mean, I think Flynn Downs was the best player on the pitch today. I think he deserved man of the match, but or he is my man of the match, but he was put in the wrong position again. People are out of position. He's playing way too defensively for his role. He is a defensive midfielder, and I know that doesn't make much of a difference, but when you see how we play, it really does. Flynn Downs was incredible. He was one of two players who were actually running with the ball and pushing it forward. And honestly, we're going to lose him when we go down to the championship because he just he's an absolute star, and West Ham have lost on a big player there. So Flynn Downs, great player. And then we move on to Harwood Bellis, who, again, just like Jack Stevens, had a brilliant game. Just scored for England in against Ireland. A brilliant game, and yeah, deserves a lot of credit for what he did today. It was an outstanding performance against Ireland, so I want to congratulate him for that, as well as just a decent game today. Obviously, we let in 3 goals. I think once we just start drawing, or our momentum goes down when we start losing. I was surprised when we went 1-0 down that we managed to bring it up to 2-1, but again, when we go 2-0, everything falls down from there, and I think our defensive rate just falls down the roof, and that's how we lost. And he's still young and he's still a talented defender, so I don't see why we probably won't lose him when we go down to the championship. But I'm not trying to be negative because it was a positive performance. There were lots of positives taken from today. Now moving on to Tyler Dibbling, who I think, if Flynn Downs isn't the man of the match, he is my man of the match because he is again another player who I reckon we will lose when we go down to the championship. And I hate to keep saying that because maybe, just maybe, we could get 3 or 4 wins and then be a bit safer. But he was one of the best players on that pitch again. He was bringing it forward every time he had the ball. Very good dribbling, very good. He just wasn't scared to shoot, and that's what we need from a winger. And he's just everything we needed today. And he was the one who brought the penalty. Obviously, that was a bit controversial with it being just on the line, but he brought us the penalty because he moved forward what we needed, as well as taking shots, bringing the ball forward. It's literally what we need, but we'll get on to the players who can't bring the ball forward in a minute. But a great game from Tyler Dibbling. Another player. This is the thing. Our midfield is very good at bringing the ball forward, well, most of our midfield, but we just can't seem to keep it forward enough. When we bring it forward, we have really good chances, but normally we never manage to bring it forward because Liverpool are a good team, good attacking team, but our attacks only last about maybe 3 minutes, and if they do, it ends up going back to Ramsdale or back to McCarthy, and it's just not fun. But anyway, Matthias Fernandez, brilliant goal, probably one of our best goals I've seen at home, or it really was only our only goal I've seen at home, apart from the Ipswich game, if I'm not counting the cup games. But again, a brilliant goal, brilliant player, and another one who I see us losing eventually because he's just a young Portuguese talent who I has got Wolves written over him, but he's here at Southampton, and he does seem to be enjoying his football, and hopefully we can see more from him. He's still young talent, so we'll have to wait and see how his career moves, but I'm sure we'll see more goals from him, and it was a brilliant game from him. And then, yeah, now moving on to our last 3 players. So Paul Onuachu, brilliant game from him today. He was the best player on the pitch for like 30 minutes of that game. Honestly, it was a real shame when he got injured. I hope the injury isn't long. Hopefully we find out soon. But honestly, one of the statistics I read was he had the most successful dribbles in the first half, more than the whole Liverpool team. That just shows how much of a great player he is because he just, he's not scared. He's 6'8" tall, 6'9" tall, maybe. I'm not sure what his height is, but he's fucking tall. And, to be able to do stuff like that is just what you need in an attacker. And, he was skilling out all the Liverpool players, Virgil van Dijk, all of the whole lot. And you're doing that as a striker. You don't belong at Southampton, honestly, but great player, and hopefully we can see more starts from him. He posted on his Instagram saying, "Trust the process." Maybe that means it was just a little knock. That's what we're hoping, at least, because I'm not going to be so happy if I see Archer on the pitch next game because he wasn't great today. But again, we'll move on to him in a minute. Now, another player who got injured today, Adam Lallana. I mean, there's not really much to say about him. He did push the ball forward. He was very good in midfield for the 37 minutes he was on. But, an ex-Liverpool player, obviously came through the Southampton Academy. He's back now, and he did a bit. He did a good job, but I haven't really got much to say from him because he didn't really do much this game. And I hope the injury isn't too long because he does have moments and he has shown moments, even though he is what? I'm not even sure how old he is. 36 years old, but he's still doing bits for us, and hopefully we can see more from him if this isn't a long lasting injury, but who knows. Finally, Adam Armstrong, the man who I would give man of the match to we saw if he didn't score a penalty. I mean, the goal he scored was absolutely amazing, but that penalty miss was just it was a really, I know he scored it after, but he should be burying that. It was an awful penalty straight at the keeper. But, I can't deny that the, the setback and the goal afterwards, it definitely cheered me up after the 1-0 down, after being 1-0 down. And I just hope that we can see more goals from him. 2 goals, could have got a hat trick, but sadly not. And yeah. He didn't even score 2 goals, did he? I'm being an absolute idiot. It was 3-2. It was Fernandez who scored the other one. Okay, don't mind me. I am stupid. He scored 1 goal because he scored the penalty. So, yeah, definitely not my man of the match. I'm going crazy. But still, great game from him. Now, for the substitutions, we'll start off with Joe Aribo. Joe Aribo was I don't see a lot in him. The best thing about him is his chance. I don't like Joe Aribo. He he's he's a good player, and don't get me wrong, I don't hate him, but he's not Premier League quality. He's too scared to put the ball forward. You know, he just passes back and back and back, and sometimes there's perfect opportunities to just go forward, and he just can't do it. And I don't see him getting any better. I mean, he's like what, 28, 28 years old. There's no progression for Joe Aribo. I think he's someone who I do see staying with us in the championship because he's a championship player. And you know, I don't hate him. I do dislike him because he never passes the ball forward. But maybe he'd be better under a different manager, and we'll get into that in a minute. But we're gonna now talk about Yukinari Sugawara, who I mean he wasn't on for too long. I actually think I left the game by the time he was on. What time did he get on? 77 minutes. I think that was just after I left, so I hardly saw anything of him. But I don't know why he didn't start. But maybe Martin doesn't see much in him, or maybe he's just not fit enough after being on international break. But either way, I mean, I'm hoping we can maybe see more from him, and I'm hoping maybe it goes up for him because he's a great player. He seems like a nice lad, and yeah. Now, the other substitution, which happened at the same time as Sugawara, again, I didn't see much from him. Cameron Archer, I mean, I can't really talk much about him, but, you know, I feel like maybe he could have come on a bit earlier, maybe replaced Onuachu because he does score and he's a great player, and hopefully we can see more starts from him as well. But I don't really want to talk too much about them too because I didn't really see much of them. I think I left in like the 83rd minute because it was a nightmare and I had a massive headache from celebrating all those goals for absolutely nothing. And then finally, Leslie Ugochukwu, I don't know how to say that. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong. Ugochukwu. He is, obviously a Chelsea player on loan from Chelsea, and I don't think he'll need another loan after this because he isn't. He's like an upgrade to Joe Rebo. He's a very good player. He's very strong. I remember when must have been the Stoke game. He was probably one of our best players then. But when we're playing Liverpool, he's not putting in the same tackles because I'm assuming the Liverpool players are much more clever to know when to keep the ball, keep away from tackles, and that's not that's what we need, someone who can tackle, and he can do that. But he didn't show that today. He did do some good forward balls, but also we see a lot of our players pass it back a lot, and what we need is to go forward. And we've seen the two goals we scored is because we went forward and ran forward, and then we just stopped doing that, which just makes no sense. But yeah, a great player, and yeah, they were all the players. Now my match ratings. So I would personally give Alex McCarthy a 5. I mean, it's what he deserves. It was an average performance. He made some good saves, but there was nothing you can credit on him for him really. Wasn't anything incredible. Oh, Walker Peters, I'm gonna give him a 6.5 again. Decent performance. He always performs, but nothing crazy. I don't think any of our defence deserves much credit apart from their defensive work. Everything you expect from them happened, but losing the ball is just not what we need. And if I could rate McCarthy lower, I would, but it's really, it's not entirely his fault. And I don't hate Alex McCarthy. And I'll get into the reason why I've given him a 5 at the end. Ryan Fraser, 6. I mean, because he's been put in a position where he's not suited, as I've said. You can't rate him much lower, much higher than that, really. Jack Stevens, I'd give a 6. Flynn Downs, probably a solid 7.5. Harwood Bellis, a 6.5. Dibbling, a 7. Fernandez, a 7. Onuachu, a 7.5 as well. Maybe I'd give Dibbling a 7.5 as well, really. Adam Lallana, a 5. I didn't see much of him, obviously, because he got injured. And Adam Armstrong, a 7. Scored. That's all we can ask from him. Aribo, 5. Sugawara, a 6, because I didn't see much of him. Same with Cameron Archer, a 6. Ugo Chukwu, 6.5. And yeah. And Russell Martin, I'm going to give a 5. We can't play his football with these players, especially Alex McCarthy, and especially Joe Aribo, and most of them, but I would say 50% of the players can't play Russell Martin football. I am not Russell Martin out, but I may be in the future because it is challenging. It is challenging to watch the football, and when we're 3-2, when we're 2-1 up, sorry, and end up losing 3-2, it just says something. We can't hold a lead, and we weren't able to do that against Leicester, and we're not able to do it now. I know it's a bigger team, but it just really doesn't work, and we need it fixed. And anyway, thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in the next game. Hopefully, we get a win.